I love to ski. A matter of fact, I love it so much that almost 10 years ago, me and my wife moved to the Alps, so we will be able to ski not just a few weeks per year, but every day. Well, maybe not every day, everyone has to work, of course, but a few days per week. We had a great first year with tons of snow, but the last few years I've seen a lot of this. When I show this picture, people usually smile and say something funny like, "Why don't you buy a pair of water skis instead?" Well, I enjoy a fun joke. This little ski one cost me €1,000 after having to buy a new pair of skis just a month into the ski season after totally trashed these due to lack of snow. I guess global warming is not that fun after all. When I started as a designer in the mid-1990s, people had funny haircuts and the coolest thing you could own as a designer was an Apple Newton with a black and white screen. Internet had pretty much just been launched, and while I thought it sounded like a really cool idea, I honestly didn't understand what it would be good for. I mean, what possibly could be better than a fax machine? The 1990s was a great time for me. I partied a lot, and as I thought things couldn't get any better, I got some great contracts creating designs for many of the products which I pretty much spent all my weekends interacting with. But it didn't stop there, as it wouldn't have been enough with helping the world's biggest spirit brands getting more people to get drunk. I also started to work with the tobacco industry. And not only that, I even helped one cigarette brand to specifically create a design with a main goal to attract young women. Taste that for a moment. Just thinking about having worked with the tobacco industry gives me a really, really bad taste in the mouth. Well, it didn't take that many years before realizing that working for tobacco companies will give you a straight ticket to hell. But until 2009, I continued to work first as a designer and later as a creative director for pretty much all the big spirit brands in the world. And I guess I've become something of an expert of spirit marketing and design. 2009, I had worked myself almost to death, and me and my wife decided to move down to the Alps. My plan was to continue working with the spirit industry, creating designs and marketing campaigns for the world's biggest brands, but working a bit less and also remote from Chamonix while skiing and climbing the rest of the time. Moving to Chamonix was a dream come true. While having to travel to London, Stockholm and Paris a few times per week, I still managed to score about 100 ski days that first year, while actually making more money than I ever had done before. But 2010, something happened that changed my life and set my career in a very unexpected direction. This is Mer de Glace. It is one of the largest glaciers in France and in the world. I come here quite often to climb and to ski, and I actually can see the glacier from my kitchen window. To make it easy for tourists to get down to the ice, there is a lift leading down to it. The lift, which you can see in this picture, was built in 1985 and ends at this platform. From the platform then leads a stair which takes you down to the glacier. When I was here the first time, I didn't understand why they hadn't built the lift all the way down to the ice. As you can see, when getting off the lift, it's still about 500 meters to reach the ice. As I started to walk down the stairs the first time I was there, it was hard not to get amazed. Rocks the size of cars tumbling down the surrounding mountainsides and the river of ice glimmering in the sun. I remember feeling such happiness, and I couldn't stop thinking how cool it was to live neighbor to a glacier, and I still do. But the joy I felt soon would turn into a feeling of deep, deep worries. Maybe 50 meters or so from the lift platform, you find this sign. As you remember, 1985 was the year when the lift was built, and the reason they didn't make it longer was simply because the glacier then went all the way up to this point. Just 30 years ago, it was ice here. I remember being shocked seeing the sign for the first time, but it was more to come. As I continued walking, there were new signs. 1990, 95, 2001, every year the stair had been made longer, and every year the ice has gotten 10, 15, or some years even 30 meters thinner. I couldn't believe it, and I still can't. It's one thing to read about global warming in some article, but seeing it like this, it's mind-blowing. This sign, however, is what really made me rethink my life and career. 2010 was the year I was at this place for the first time, so this sign indicates where the ice was the year I moved to Chamonix. Just 9 years later, there's only rocks here and still a long way down to the ice. The way back to the lift, which you can see far up in the right corner of this image, always is a painful experience. Not only because you have about half a kilometer of stairs to climb, but seeing how fast the ice is melting really gets you to understand that something very, very serious is happening with nature just in front of our eyes. Back on the train leaning down to Chamonix, some 1500 meters below after my first visit here, I remember feeling dizzy. The world is in trouble, and why doesn't anyone do something about it? If we continue like this, is there even going to be a world resembling anything like the one we live in today in just 50 years? Who knows? After getting back to Chamonix that day, almost 10 years ago, I knew my life had changed. I had to do something. Who cares whether logo A sells more products than logo B? Our world is moving into a very dangerous and sad place. Global warming is much more than melting ice. It's about water supply, it's about famines, refugees, and our global economy. Politicians need to stop arguing and denying what is happening with the global environment. What matter does short-term growth have if the world economy in 10, 15, 20 years totally crash due to wars about diminishing natural resources like clean water? Well, I'm not a politician. I do know how to use design to influence people's decisions. Even if I do not have the power to stipulate laws, I do have the power to get people to understand the consequences of their vote, and I therefore have decided to move into political marketing. This poster from the 2008 US presidential wraps up this presentation. By many, it is considered as one of the main reasons to Obama's victory. This single piece of art, to a great extent, built the movement which got the first and only Black American president elected. What it shows is that in politics, the work of a single designer actually can change the world.